Welcome, everyone. Good morning to those who are gathered here in the sanctuary and to all who are joining online today. We begin this morning with a musical prelude by our guest pianist today, Joyce Polifka. Thank you, Joyce. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville. My name is Jason Woodson, and my pronouns are he, him, and I'm pleased to be leading worship this morning with Reverend Leah Derlin-Jones, Carl Howe, and guest musician Joyce Polifka. Oh my goodness, I forgot already. Polifka, okay. Whoever you are and wherever you have come from, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville welcomes you. We are delighted you have joined us this morning and are grateful for all who have made this moment of our gathering possible. I invite us to take a moment to greet others. Those online may unmute, and those here in the sanctuary or social hall are welcome to greet your neighbors, especially those you may not know. We do offer a special welcome to newcomers and invite you to join us for fellowship after the service in the social hall. Please use one of our red coffee mugs, and UUCville members and friends are invited to offer a special welcome to anyone with a red coffee mug. There is a live stream of the service in the social hall, and while everyone is welcome here in the sanctuary, the social hall can be a good option if you need a roomier space. Many thanks to all of the folks helping us share worship, both here and online, our greeters, ushers, and hospitality teams. And special thanks to our AV Tech team, led this morning by Angela Orabal, and our new AV Tech staff member, Ben Jackson. Welcome, Ben. And thank you, Angela, for orienting Ben to our AV system. And now we have greetings from board member John Griffith.
Good morning, everyone. I'm John Griffith. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a member of your board. I am very excited about being here today. So excited for it's Pride Sunday. I also dropped my daughter off for her first ASP trip at 8 this morning. So I'm just really excited this morning. Speaking of excitement, our biggest fundraiser at the congregation here is our yard sale, which is coming up. And we need lots of help. We've had more stuff donated so far this year than any year in the past. But we don't have people that are volunteering to pack or to unpack, to move things around. Some people get a little intimidated about pricing. They're like, I don't know how to price. Don't worry about that. We just need people to show up and carry things and move them around. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday mornings from 10 till noon. If you can be here and help with that, that would be amazing. If you have questions, you can talk to Ellie or Elizabeth or Lori. If you don't know who they are, you can talk to me and I will introduce you. And I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, John. Here are this morning's announcements. Join Raven and Flame after the Sunday service outside at the bench under the trees in front of Summit House. It's just over here, to write postcards to voters. This campaign hopes to encourage voters to enlist or re-enlist for mail-in ballots, a known way to increase voter turnout. We'll provide the cards, the addresses, and a short message. Join your friends here in the social hall on Wednesdays from noon to 1:15 for a bring your own lunchtime of conversation and friendship. All are welcome. This morning, both in our service and afterwards, we are celebrating LGBTQ+ Pride Month. Join us for a Pride party following the service in the social hall. Coffee, treats, and Rainbow Pride popsicles will be served. All are welcome, so please join us. And part of today's after-church party includes your last chance to purchase raffle tickets to support our youth on their Appalachian Service Project trip. We are raffling off 5 different themed baskets overflowing with goodies. The baskets made and donated by Carol Black are amazing. Come check them out in the social hall. Tickets are $5 each, or 5 for $20, and the raffle will take place at 12:30 today.
Our words for our call to worship this morning are from the Reverend Dr. Kimmy Floyd Reich. We belong to one another in the light and in the sorrow. We belong to this earth and to the air around us, to the rivers and the forests which nurture us, to the stars above which guide our path as we circle the sun. And we belong to the generations yet to come.
To the stories that shaped us, and every human who has ever lived belongs to the future we are shaping together. Remember that none of us stands alone, that freedom is never solitary.
Our lives are woven together in one sacred web of relationships. We belong to love. We belong to each other.
We belong to this living world. I am because we are. We are because we belong.
I now invite Kathy Louder to come forward and light our flaming chalice. Will you please join with me in saying our chalice lighting words? We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. And now with our hand motions, your hand out flat like the matchbook, and your finger is the match. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is a church of open minds. This is a church of helping hands. This is a church of loving hearts. Well, I'm so delighted to say that our opening hymn is a brand new hymn for us. We've never sung it before. It is from our new virtual hymnal, and it is called There Is a Light. And it's a hymn that, as I looked at it earlier in the week, it got stuck in my head, and I've just been kind of singing it to myself all week long. We're so fortunate to have Joyce here to play with us today. Very grateful for your presence. Joyce is going to play it through once so you become somewhat familiar with the melody, and then we're going to sing it through together. So please rise now in body or spirit, and let's sing with gusto our new opening hymn, There's a Light. You sounded wonderful. Well, I want to offer an introduction to our service this morning. It is a joy to be celebrating LGBTQ plus pride together here in our beautiful sanctuary, a sanctuary that has so many stories that it could tell about celebrations and hardships that have happened here. I am so glad that you are here, whether you are joining us online or in person. Our service this morning is titled Sweat, Tears, Rainbows, Glitter, and More. To acknowledge that while there is much we are celebrating today, we would be remiss if we didn't also acknowledge the hard work, the sweat, and the tears of those LGBTQ plus people who came before us. We have come a long way with the moral arc of the universe, as Unitarian theologian Theodore Parker said in 1853, bending the arc towards justice. We need only look to the past 50 years to see real and positive progress. We have come a long way since the Stonewall Inn, located in Manhattan, where an aggressive raid by police on June 28, 1969, sparked a new beginning in the ongoing fight for LGBTQ civil rights. We remember and are grateful to those who came out, spoke their truths, were vulnerable, and worked for the humanity of all LGBTQ plus people. We honor and give thanks to our LGBTQ ancestors who fought tirelessly and courageously for our human rights. We give thanks for the civil right to marry our beloveds, to be legally recognized as their kin in medical and other situations, and to create families and communities that reflect our true selves and help us be whole. We celebrate this and so much more today with the sweat born from hard work and with tears of pain and tears of joy. And even as we celebrate, we also lament that anti-LGBTQ censorship is expanding across our country. Some cities and communities canceled their Pride events this year, including Tampa, Florida, Arlington, Texas, and Tucson, Arizona. Some organizers fear their ability to keep participants safe at Pride events out of concern for violence and actions fueled by hate. Other events have been stopped by political threats and those in power. In many places, funding and sponsorship has disappeared. We also know of places in our country, Utah, Idaho, Oregon, Missouri, and others, where pride flags have been banned on government property and at public schools. We continue to see the erosion of protections against discriminatory practices in schools and healthcare and beyond. No place is this more evident than with our trans siblings, whose very humanity continues to be under assault. Today, as we celebrate Pride together, we affirm the wholeness and beauty of our trans kin, and we honor you. We appreciate you. We love you. And we are so glad that you are with us. So today, let us hold close to our hearts the sweat, the tears, the rainbows, the glitter, and so much more that makes up Pride. Let us be a safer and braver space for all of us to show up in our true humanity. I now invite Carl Howe to share a reflection.
Leah has requested that I relate the story of my marriage to my lifetime partner, Kenneth White, on December 12, 2014, since that seems to be the first same-sex marriage held in this church. But before I make my comments, I need to ask for your indulgence regarding my speaking ability. I have cancer and have been on numerous treatment regimens over the last year. Currently, the chemo immunoregimen seems to be stabilizing my cancer, but it has side effects, one of which is that I frequently experience dry mouth. My salivary glands do not seem to produce enough saliva to properly lubricate my mouth. Consequently, I need to continually sipping on things. Otherwise, my tongue starts to stick to the back of my mouth and my teeth, which renders the sound of my articulation closer to Mandarin than to English. So I will be sipping my hot McDonald's coffee. It's not quite so hot anymore, but it'll keep me articulating, so I hope you can understand me. the onset, I should point out that even though I was married here, my husband, Ken, is not here today. He died peacefully at home 3 months ago from congestive heart failure. I am still grieving his loss after having been a couple for 50 years. Years, 2 months from the date of our commitment. Excuse me, I'm still raw with emotion. When Leah asked me if I would address gay marriage as part of this service, I sort of thought it was an odd choice because legal marriage came very late in our relationship. Not at the beginning, as is the case in the majority of weddings. It is typically a happy, a joyous, and sometimes flamboyant occasion when couples get married. When Ken and I got married, we had already been together 39 years, had 2 grown kids, 4 grandchildren, and literally our marriage ceremony was like a coda as we neared the ends of our lives. Our focus in seeking legal marriage was primarily security and protection as we age. So when same-sex marriage became legal in Virginia in November of 2014, we were not interested in seeking an elaborate or an impressive ceremony, but a quiet remembrance of what we had built over the last 39 years. Being the pessimist that I am, and I literally am, my partner was the optimist, and he always accused me of being my worst pessimist self sometimes. I was totally taken off guard when same-sex marriage was legalized in this country. I had no inkling, and I had a legal background too, but I just could not imagine being legally married. It just seemed to be a pie in the sky. More than once, Ken referred to our relationship as our safe harbor, a place of refuge against the storms and vicissitudes of life. But having that safe harbor allowed me to venture into activities that I would not otherwise have attempted. For example, Ken encouraged me to get involved in the newly forming DC Gay Hotline, which I did for 7 years in DC, though I was risking the loss of my job as a government attorney. This was back before don't ask, don't tell. I mean, you don't tell, you don't ask. If they found out you were gay, you could just say goodbye. This was very early on. But we decided to take the chance. And we needed the money, of course. That was my job. Even though Ken was an introvert and tended to avoid the center of attention, he held strong views on many things, including the right of gay persons to live their lives in dignity and respect. Although he did not go around verbally advocating for this cause, he physically involved himself in actions that he thought would make a difference. For example, in 1979, he and I marched up Pennsylvania Avenue in DC in the first of what became a series of gay rights marches on DC. Some of the later marches were quite large and had several hundreds of thousands of people. The first one did not. It had quite a few, well, there were a lot of people there that day. I was surprised at how many people came that day. I was surprised I went that day. But in one of the larger later marches, we even housed in our small DC apartment some march participants from out of town who had no place to stay. But appearing to be gay in those days sometimes invited trouble. One night, while we were on vacation in Florida, when we exited a gay bar/restaurant and headed toward our rented car in the parking lot, a group of intoxicated teenagers out to have some gay bashing fun chased us to our car. Fortunately, we suffered no personal physical harm, just a little rattled after those kids broke a liquor bottle on our windshield as we were trying to get away. More recently, several months before his death, Ken and I discussed how strongly he felt about how our country was being misled and what actions we could take that might have some impact on that. One of the ideas we discussed was participating in a No Kings demonstration. We hadn't been in a demonstration in years, and Ken thought that might be neat to do. Problem was, his health was in severe decline as his congestive heart failure weakened him over time. So we never got to jointly go to a No Kings demonstration. Not many people here know this story, but a few days after Ken died, I decided, given my extreme grief, my anger at the world for losing such a decent, loving guy as Ken, and his penchant for participating in marches, which he had not been able to do, I decided to participate in a Gay Kings demonstration for both of us. So late in March, I drove to the town of Orange right after his death, it was a couple of weeks after his death, and there, while among a group of about 150 noisy and lively protesters along one of the main streets in the little town of Orange, I shouted his name multiple times into the air, and I waved above my head his walking stick. I didn't have a sign. Everybody had signs, but I had a walking stick. I see this as as continuing his values. Sorry about this. When same-sex marriage first became legal here in 2014, many of our gay friends immediately ran to the courthouse to tie the knot quickly before it could be taken away, like it had been in California. I don't know if you remember that story, but California, way before the U.S. Supreme Court okayed it, California temporarily had gay marriage, and people flocked to the courthouses there to get married, and then it was taken away. Ken and I, after having absorbed the shock of the legal opinion, decided that we wanted to legalize our relationship also. So I called around to various court clerks' offices in this area to see if we could be civilly married quickly in a courthouse ceremony. When I asked who would be available to marry us, I was told, due to the sudden high volume of marriage applications, I wonder why, the only official then available was the sheriff or the sheriff's deputy. The idea of being married by someone with a gun at his side did not seem appealing. We would literally be subject to having been married in a shotgun marriage. So that led me to call the church office. Ken and I had been members of this congregation since 2010. We're members here, and I thought, maybe I can find somebody who'll give me a quick marriage here. So I talked to Alex McGee. She was one of the ministers here then, and explained that we did not want an elaborate church wedding, but something very simple. Would she be willing to officiate at such an event in maybe the church parlor? She replied, yes, but she had a strict rule that she wanted to counsel anybody who she married. So we agreed to come here and have a counseling session with her. She wanted to know some of our background, how we met, how our relationship had evolved. We explained our chance encounter at a gay bar in D.C. on May 17, 1975, followed by on-off dating for the next year and a half, and finally on the night of January 10, 1977, while at dinner at a restaurant called the Diamond Head Restaurant in Woodbridge, Virginia, I posed the question to Ken that I'd been thinking about for several weeks. I would like a long-term relationship. We did not define it. There were few role models in those days regarding how two guys could live together. Ken's response was that he wanted the same thing. So we date that date, January 10th, 1977, as the beginning of our relationship. We bought our first house in Arlington within a few months after that. By the early 1980s, one of Ken's two kids, Michael, then about 12 years old, decided he wanted to live with us and go to school in Arlington. Ken had two children by his previous marriage, Michael and Melody. They're both adults now. Then in 1981, we bought a 188-acre abandoned cattle farm in Orange County as a retreat from the city. One of the principal drivers pushing us to make this purchase was the privacy the farm afforded us. We would be able to live our lives away from the distractions of urban living, as well as away from the pressures to conform to how others thought we should live our lives as gay persons and as a family. We wanted to be our authentic selves, not conform to or be molded by other people's expectations of us. As we seemed to persuade Alex in our counseling session that we were marriage ready after 39 years of practice, she agreed to perform the wedding in the parlor as we wanted. It was a very short ceremony. No music, mostly the recitation of vows, the exchange of red roses as symbolic of our affection for each other, the use of my grandmother's rings, and lots of tears. Here ends my story. After 39 years of unlegal marriage, followed by 11 years of legal marriage, our time together has ended with Ken's death as of March 13th. So now I am no longer a we, but rather a me, having lost half of myself. So now I have to reinvent myself. I have lived a privileged, fortunate, happy life. Happier than I could ever have imagined back when I was a scared teenager growing up in a small town in the deep South, South Carolina to be exact. I knew that I was different back then, but I did not give that difference a name or understand it. And I certainly saw no role models around me. But along my life journey, I've witnessed lots of changes around me. Early on, I wanted to fit in and be accepted by others and my peers. I had to hide my inner feelings so as to maintain this acceptance. I can recall back when I was a student in law school in Chicago in the late 1960s, taking a seminar on law and psychiatry, and reading a textbook that classified homosexuality as a mental disorder. You can imagine how that affected me. But fortunately for me, I lived also through an era of cultural examination and change, the 1960s and the 1970s, that revealed to me that even though I was different, it was not a bad difference, but just a difference, just like everyone else was different. It was something in my nature, my DNA, that I could actually build on and use to make me even a better person. I found that I too could find real love and companionship in life and build a family. That culminated when our culture accepted and legalized same-sex marriage. Even though this acceptance came very late in my life, it has made a difference. It has made a difference. I have seen in emergency situations here in Charlottesville, in the emergency room, when my partner Ken was in distress and someone called out, "Who is the next of kin here?" And I shouted back, "I am his husband." And no one better than I got to stay in the room with Ken and hold his hand when he most needed my support. As I said, I have been really fortunate to have gained marriage recognition even late in life, but it can also be taken away just as it briefly was in California some years ago before the U.S. Supreme Court gave at least some semblance to finality of the issue. I know a gay couple that now lives in Charlottesville who were living in Los Angeles at the time of California authorizing gay marriage and then having it taken away. They were legally married one day, and the next day their marriage was in purgatory. My point is that the U.S. Supreme Court can change its mind, especially given its present composition. And without state protection, all of us who have enjoyed the privileges of legal marriage could lose those privileges. I hope we do not have to face such a reversal. But just like Roe v. Wade, the unthinkable can happen. I think that places a burden on all of us to continue to resist, in whatever way we can, the slow erosion of rights for all persons who are different or marginalized, and that includes women. Thanks for listening to my thoughts. Thank you. Thank you. There's some photographs that I pulled out of my catchment of photographs, and these are just some things that were going on some time ago. This is in the first Gay Rights March in 1979. We are assembling in what's in front of Union Station. It's a park-like area. And that's me and Ken and a guy from Philadelphia that we just met. This was a great way to meet new people and bond with new people because we had no idea who or what might happen to us marching down the street, if there would be hecklers, if somebody might be violent. This was all new, but this was us assembling in front of the Union Station. Want to try the next photograph? Oh, these are just stupid things here. But as a precursor to the gay rights marches, DC allowed communities to assemble and cut off, have street festivals. They would block streets. And the gay community was just getting organized in the late 70s in DC. And we had a street festival, and there was this poster board where you could stick your head through it. So that's Ken and me in 1978, long hair and all. And then this is a picture, it was taken in my townhouse in Falls Church before Ken and I became a couple. The girl on the right, she's now my age, she's a senior citizen living in Seattle. She was one of our best friends at a church that we went to in DC, First Baptist of DC. And she became a very intimate friend. I just want you to see the hairdos. One of the best things about my relationship to Ken was that we played a lot, and we goofed around, but we criticized each other, but we did it lovingly. And this is taken at the Outer Banks, and we're just sort of grimacing and pushing each other around. The other picture is on Cape Cod. We had rented a house on Cape Cod with another gay couple, and they took the shot of us playing in the surf. This is at Wellfleet on Cape Cod. You want to try the one more? This is at our wedding. Right after we were married, Alex McGee took that photograph. You can see that I'm all teared up. I am terrible. I cannot control my emotions. I'm just like my dad in that respect. The other picture is at our farmhouse in Orange. And that's me and Ken, and that's about 2 days before he breathed his last death. He wanted to be held, and I held him. Thank you for listening to me.
So in addition to today being Pride Day here in our congregation, it is also Father's Day, and we want to acknowledge that. It is a day that's complicated for many of us, celebrating fathers who are no longer in our lives, fathers who we may be separated from. But we are grateful to the fathers who are in our midst this morning, and we wish you a very happy Father's Day. I invite you now to please join with me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. If you feel comfortable doing so, I invite you to perhaps place your hand over your own beating heart. And as you take in everything you've heard so far in our service this morning, I invite you just to be with your breath. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, be with us this day as we notice and honor all the feelings that are arising. Help us not turn away, but to acknowledge and grieve the unnecessary cruelty and loss of life occurring around us, in our own country and in the wider world. Help us to remember that we are part of the interconnected web of life and that those who are suffering are inextricably bound to us as we are to them. Help us bring empathy, compassion, and love where it is needed. Help us be loving and kind to ourselves and to everyone we encounter. Center love. Be with us today as we celebrate Father's Day and Pride, and let us open our hearts to all the expressions of love just waiting to be noticed, just waiting to be celebrated. And let this abiding love guide us and bring us ever more hope, ever more courage, and ever more resolve, and a lasting sense of peace. Amen, and blessed be. We are an interconnected community that cares for one another, and part of how we embody this care is by making time each week to share the joys and the sorrows that we hold in our hearts. I will now share what was submitted online earlier this week. With joy, our high school youth left from our church parking lot this morning for their service trip to Appalachia through the Appalachian Service Project. This year we have 12 youth and 9 adult chaperones, and they are headed to Buchanan County for a week to help make people's homes warmer, safer, and drier. I want to thank everyone for your financial support for this trip, for donating snacks, and for your loving care of our youth. Please hold them in your hearts and prayers this week as they put their UU values and love into action. And finally, at the end of the service this morning, in honor of Pride, members of our pastoral care team, Patty, Meg, Ellen, and Cindy, will join me in offering glitter blessings to anyone who would like one. You just need to simply come forward here to the chancel, and you will be blessed and affirmed for who you are, just as you are. Today is a food sharing Sunday, and a bounty of food has been placed in the church parlor for those in our congregation who have the means and want to share with those in our congregation whose budgets are feeling squeezed. Anyone and everyone is welcome to stop by the church parlor, which is just inside the Edgewood Lane doorway of our church after the service, and you may choose items to take home. As we often sing together, from you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and by this we live. Our food sharing Sundays are part of how we embody this hymn and our commitment to caring for one another. Let us now bless the bounty by speaking these words in unison. It is a gift to receive. It is a gift to give. May the food given and received today be a symbol of the love that we offer one another. May this food be blessed by our love, our connection, and our mutual care. Amen, and blessed be. Due to time, we will not be practicing our ritual of joys and sorrows this morning, but Cindy Benton Groner will be in this back corner here after the service as one of our pastoral care team members, available to speak with anybody who might have something on your heart that you need to share, or if you just need a listening ear. Those online can contact the pastoral care team at pastoral@UU Charlottesville at any time. I now invite you to remain seated as we sing together our meditation hymn, number 1058, How Could Anyone? And as we sing this hymn, we will sing it through 3 times. If you're willing, I invite you the first time you sing it to perhaps close your eyes and take in the lyrics for yourself. And then if you are so willing, during the second and third times that we sing it, you might choose to look around the congregation and make eye contact with others. If you do not want to do that, that is absolutely fine, but it is an invitation. So please remain seated and we will sing 3 times. How could anyone?
This community offers its love and support to what is closest to our hearts. Another way to show we care for one another is in sharing our financial gifts with our community and our congregation. Our social action collection this month, for month of June, is for the Uhuru Foundation, whose mission is to disrupt cycles of incarceration by creating real pathways to housing, employment, and long-term stability for individuals impacted by the justice system. Angela and Ben, please show us the social action slide for giving for anyone who would like to make a donation to support the Uhuru Foundation. In addition to giving online, if you'd like to make a donation with cash or check, please use the social action collection envelopes and place them in the collection plate. Make checks out to the UU Congregation of Charlottesville and write Social Action Collection or Uhuru Foundation in the memo line. Along with our Social Action Collection, we also invite you to generously support the ministries and mission of the UU Congregation of Charlottesville. Through your pledges and the weekly Sunday morning offering, your financial gifts support our congregation and enable us to put love into action. This is our shared ministry. You can offer your financial support for UUCville by using the text address or going to our website. You may place cash or checks in the collection plates as they are passed. Now let us dedicate the many gifts we share with one another by saying, "We accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good." So Leah asked me to write and share a short reflection on pride, what it means to me, and why it's important. And my immediate response was, can you please define a short reflection? Because we all know I can be quite verbose when given an opportunity with no guardrails. But this was difficult for me because while pride is a very public thing that we do to recognize and celebrate, it's also a very personal thing. So it was difficult for me to put these words to paper, and I hope that some meaning will filter through for you. So when addressing the question of why pride is important, there are 4 main points that stand out to me. Pride, first of all, honors the history of the LGBTQ+ movement and the struggle for equality. We've come a long way, baby. We've talked about the ways that rights for the LGBTQ+ community have progressed and been recognized. The organized religion and society that I grew up in recognized that people who were not heterosexual were not people deserving of full rights, were not deserving of God's grace, and weren't entitled to live their lives free of oppression and guilt for the choices they had made. At the very least, there was some type of mental illness that caused it, and they just needed to pray harder or take a few shocks to the old noggin. And a lot of people were oppressed, many people were beaten, others died. Pride reminds us to celebrate and remember those who fought before us, the ones who died for the cause of a community that had every right to live just as they are. Pride is a living tribute to the courage of those who forged the path. But it is also a time to recognize the advances that have been made to restore the rights of people who should never have lost those rights in the first place. Pride creates a community. Secondly, a place where you can belong. I remember going to my first drag show. I had become friends with a man who owned a small restaurant. I worked at his restaurant some. He was also gay and was part of the drag scene and invited me to go with him one evening. The minute that I stepped into that bar, I knew I was home. I knew that I could be myself there. I didn't have to code switch. I got a taste of freedom. I found my community. A community of like-minded people who not only suffered from same-sex attraction, but also believed that there was nothing wrong with or abnormal about that, and we should all be afforded the same opportunities as any other American citizen. It was like the first time I found UU. It was a place of free ideas and where all paths are equally valid. A place where even a gay atheist with a big heart who loved to sing could come and just be that person and be embraced and encouraged for it. Pride creates the safe spaces where LGBTQ+ people can live without apology. Thirdly, pride pushes for progress and reminds us of the work that still needs doing. Honestly, without organization, not a whole lot can get done. Pride strives to give a marginalized community visibility. Pride works to get laws passed that ensure that leaders can't turn those rights into privileges that can be yanked away on a whim. And common sense laws that allow LGBTQ+ people to live openly and safely. Pride works to educate people with facts and help the willing to unlearn the hate and fear that had been programmed in them since a young age. Even now, there are those in positions of power that would seek to push us back into that closet where we can't be seen and we can't be heard and out of places we don't deserve to be. I didn't come out of a closet to be forced back in. And lastly, pride normalizes authenticity. That's not my phrase. I wish that I could claim it. I heard it, found it once, and kept it. But pride means that I can be me. Pride means that whoever you are, however you identify, and wherever you are in your journey, you are enough. You are loved, and you have a place. Because pride doesn't seek to normalize LGBTQ+. It seeks to normalize everyone being able to be who they are in a society free of discrimination and hate. Rather, seeing people live boldly and visibly can be life-changing, especially for young people or anyone still figuring themselves out. And even at an age that I'm at, just past the age of 30, I too am still trying to figure myself out. I remember when I was young, I was taught about the destructive spirit of pride. Pride with a little p. And Proverbs 16:18 says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before the fall." I memorized that verse about the same time that I memorized my times tables. But it was just another thing to unlearn. Pride in yourself is not a wrong thing. It's a natural thing. When you've done something that was very difficult that you didn't think you could do, it's right to be proud of that accomplishment. When you have done something that someone else has recognized, it's okay to feel a little pride when they say, "Hey, you did a good job with that." Pride is about recognizing something that is unique and sets one apart from others. So in closing, I've worked hard on myself to be the person that I am today. Am I perfect? Not even close. Am I a good person? I think I am. Am I happy and comfortable in the skin I'm in? I think so, and I'm proud of that.
Thank you so much, Carl and Jason, for sharing parts of your stories with us today. It is a privilege, truly, to have you share with us about who you are. And may the stories and the songs and the sharing that we have experienced this morning in worship stay with us in the coming days. May we be moved to speak up for those whose humanity is denied. May we be bold in the face of oppression, to name it and to work to change it. May we continue to shower those among us with love whose society and culture would deem unworthy or unlovable. Let our lives be lives that are guided by our UU values: justice, equity, transformation, generosity, pluralism, interdependence, and love. Love always at the center, leading us and guiding us home. We're going to sing together one more time our closing hymn. And the thing is, it's the same melody of our opening hymn, so you've got that down already, but it's a new closing hymn. So I invite you to rise, embody your spirit now, and we're going to have a short introduction this time to our closing hymn, but let's sing this hymn with all we have. Please rise, our body in spirit. Our closing words are from Cricket Hall, and they are, may the drag stage rise to greet you, and may the world rise to accept and embrace you. May the rainbow of love enfold you, and may your fluidity never be hindered. May your pronouns always be supported and your dead name forgotten, and may those you invite into your life remain loyal. May your chosen family lift you up and catch you when you need it, and may you be able to catch others when they need it. And may you remember sensitivity is not weakness, but instead a great strength welling up inside of you. And may you always remember that you are loved and you are divine. Let the confetti fly.